Now, we're speaking about this all morning, but let's just kind of go back on exactly what has happened with the situation with this openly Jewish man and the Met Police. So in the past few days, of course, the Met Police has been heavily criticised, and that was following a threat to arrest Gideon Falter, the chief executive of the campaign against antisemitism, after he walked near a pro-Palestinian protest wearing a skull cap. So let's just remind ourselves what one particular officer actually said to him.
You are quite openly Jewish. This is a pro-Palestinian march. I'm not accusing you of anything, but I'm worried about the reaction to your presence.
And if that wasn't bad enough, then this happened.
So you lot of people here now, you've been escorted out of this area so you can go about your business, go where you like freely, or if you choose to remain here, because you are causing a breach of peace with these other people, you will be arrested.
If I remain here, you will arrest me.
Because your presence here is antagonising a large group of people and we can't deal with all of them if they attack you or if because your presence is antagonising them.
Well, to discuss all this, I'm joined now by the former Labour MP and independent advisor to the government on political violence and disruption, Lord Walney. Lovely to see you this morning. John, if you don't mind me calling you that, as that's how we know each other personally.
Absolutely.
Should the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, go? There's been calls for his resignation by Suella Braverman. Just spoken to Danny Kruger in the studio. He doesn't have confidence in him. I asked Claire Coutinho, the Energy Secretary and Climate Change Minister, whether she had confidence in him. She couldn't give me an affirmative. John, what do you think?
I don't think he's going to go. And on balance, I don't think he should. I mean, I think Sir Mark Rowley is an intelligent man who is deeply committed to getting right what is a difficult situation. But let's be clear, the Met has too often in recent months not got it right. And what you saw on the screens there was one of the most egregious examples, I think, of not getting the balance. Look, I have sympathy, of course, with the difficult job that police officers have to do to try to keep order and maintain policing on these marches where there is clearly a threat of things spilling out of control. But I mean, it felt clearly the officer didn't mean it like that, but it feels deeply sinister to be telling a Jewish man that he looks too openly Jewish to be stood on a street at a particular time, and that he is going to get arrested for that. That's not okay, and it gives the lie, of course, to this what has always seemed a fairly incredulous claim that these marches are peaceful, that it's fine to walk around. For Jews to walk around central London. There's no sense of threat. Now, there are some Jewish people on the marches, of course, but the experience of the vast majority of Jewish people in the capital and in other cities where these marches are happening is that these are threatening events. And they've been told for months now that they're just making it up by many people, that it's actually fine. Now, that showed that it's not fine, and that is not a situation that we should be prepared to accept. And I think there is another question mark there, therefore, over the Met, over the way that they have sought to police these marches and have not been open to the argument so far that actually there is a cumulative sense of threat that the vast majority of the Jewish community, of Jewish people in these cities, have been having to shoulder week after week, and yet the Met has not felt necessary thus far to test the new legislation, to say, actually, no, enough is enough. Either these marches shouldn't be able to go on with the regularity that they currently are.
I mean, I know you've said in the past that if these marches are found to intimidate Jews, and I think we've just seen very clear evidence of that, and indeed Mr. Falter himself has given an interview to the Sunday Times today in which he reveals that he was called scum and a Nazi, and he was the one threatened with arrest and not those who were shouting these abusive terms at him, then something's gone wrong. So do you think there needs to be new legislation, or do you just think that the Met Police is not adequately using the powers that it has?
Well, that's the key question, and it's not entirely clear because of the way the new strength and public order legislation has been drafted. And in the review that I am has been in draft form going around Whitehall for a few months and is about to be formally submitted to the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary. The point I'll be making in that is that really the police, for us to get clarity on this, the new legislation needs to be tested, and the only way it can currently be tested is if the police try to use it in a more proactive way than they are at the moment. And in those circumstances, you can imagine there will be a legal challenge from perhaps protest organisers that are being told that they can't go ahead on a particular date. And then you'll be able to see whether that sense of cumulative harm being done to a particular part of our community can be upheld within the legislation. If not, my clear view is that it needs to be strengthened. And also, really, if this lack of clarity through the police not choosing to go forward and test the legislation, then we are locked in a really unacceptable drumbeat at the moment where marches are happening week after week. There's an incredible drain on police resources that's going on, and there are still very many Jewish people who simply do not feel safe going into central London where the marches are on the day that they are happening. And we saw through the actions of Gideon Falter the other day that actually, you know, that threat is real, and it's not something we should tolerate.
No. And I know you're carrying out a review for the moment for the government into political violence, and I know you've delayed that to take into account what's been happening in the aftermath of October the 7th. Just briefly, Lord Walney, I mean, where's that review up to? And presumably you're also going to be expressing concerns to government about the way that some MPs have been treated, some of these protests out there outside their homes. I'm thinking about Tobias Elwood. I'm thinking about Wes Streeting's office being targeted. I'm, of course, thinking about Mike Freer being forced to stand down as the MP for Golders Green in the surrounding area because he feels so intimidated trying to do his job. Yeah,
it is appalling. So in process terms, I've been refining the recommendations and my engagement with civil servants and others with the review in draft form over the last couple of months has been really helpful. We go through a legalling process, as you can imagine, and it is due to be submitted formally to the PM and the Home Secretary imminently. So we're almost there on that. And I'm very much hoping that it could be published almost instantly or very soon after it's been submitted.
Okay.
And yet a big part of the review is looking at what is happening to our democratic process and the way in which MPs are being targeted in my view, a completely unacceptable way. There is no reason why MPs should be being targeted at homes and their family being often being intimidated through that. I think there is also, and I think the legislation exists at the moment for the police to be tackling that. There is I think there's another question over MPs' offices where I think that the manner of protest can often clearly be designed to intimidate rather than actually be changing people's mind. And I don't think we should be accepting that. I think we need to reset. Lord Walney.
Yes. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Just very quickly, I think we need to reset our thinking and actually be more proud of protecting and celebrating our parliamentary democracy than we are in this country at present.
Absolutely. Lord Walney, or John Woodcock, as I know you better, thank you very much indeed for your insight this morning. A Metropolitan Police spokesman said, "We are aware of this video and fully acknowledge the worry it has caused, not only to those featured, but also anyone who watches it, and will review the circumstances. We have always said that we recognise the conflict between Israel and Hamas continues to be an issue of concern for many Londoners, and this includes the regular protests and marches in central London. Everyone has the right to travel throughout the capital in safety."